Hey guys, it's Ryan here with DP Marketing.Services, author on the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors, and also the host of the podcast Blue Collar CEO. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. Appreciate your time because I know you're busy. So coming at you with video, I'm curious to know what you think. And if you found this video, if you're watching this video, you're probably wondering why you're not on the first page of Google. Like, why aren't you page one? Why aren't you number one on Google, right? So-and-so has more stars or more views, or so-and-so doesn't do whatever, like they spend less on marketing, blah, blah, blah. Why aren't I on page one? Right. So this could be something where you've done SEO things for a while. This could be something where you've hired agencies before, you bring in staff. Like, you know, if you're a massive company, maybe you're bringing in-house staff. So here's a couple things. So for those who are new to the party, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And it basically, it's the process by which helping something rank on a search engine, right? So our focus a lot is Google. We don't really think a lot about Bing or Yahoo, although those totally have valid SEO techniques. We do SEO for YouTube. So if you're watching this video on YouTube, it's because of SEO that we did on this video. So that's kind of what SEO is in a nutshell. Also, for background, if you're wondering why aren't you ranking on SEO, why aren't you page one, whatever, it's helpful to know that Google thinks about SEO in kind of a way that if I say it, it will probably make sense, right? So let's imagine that in your town, there's a bakery that makes amazing cookies, right? They're not huge. They're not a big commercial operation. Maybe it's family owned for generations. But everyone knows that these cookies are the best, and they will wait in line for hours for these cookies. Everyone wants them for birthdays, for special occasions. You know, these cookies are amazing. And people, when they leave your town, they look up this bakery. They request those cookies to be shipped to them all over the world, wherever they are. Google's way of thinking about how a company should be represented digitally largely stems from Google's desire to have it reflect as accurately as possible the conditions in the real world, right? So in that example, Google would likely give a whole lot of credit to that particular bakery's website because of the nature of the business. It's going to detect social signals like people talking about it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. It's going to detect people visiting their website, like searching out. They're going to detect people talking about it on blogs, like travel blogs. They're going to detect people visiting from out of areas and leaving, reviews on Google and whatnot. Google's going to pick up all of those signals. Oh, even like local newspapers, right? Maybe a local newspaper talks about the bakery every year or something, whatever. Google's going to totally see all of that crap. Google will pick up on. And even if the company spends zero in marketing, right? Even if the company just has a crappy website, spends zero in marketing, Google's going to give that company a whole lot of credit. Why? Because there's a whole lot of activity generated about that business. The customers are excited. The customers are loyal. People in the community are excited. That company has an impact. And Google wants digitally to represent the fact that that company is the one that people always talk about. They always rave about. And it's going to make sure that they have really prime real estate. So let's pretend that you decide, you know what, that company gets a lot of traction. I'm going to start making my own cookies too. And I'm going to open a bakery and say I'm going to do it out of my house. And I'm going to hire somebody to do SEO for me. You're going to have a hard time catching up to this established bakery. It's not saying it's impossible, right? But you're going to have to do better what the other company is doing good. And you're going to have to find ways to outmaneuver them, because Google's just going to look at the fact that, hey, everyone's talking about this other bakery. Every time people come to town, they stop by this bakery. Every time someone talks about it in the news, it's this bakery, whatever. Who are you? Why would you possibly deserve great placement, right? So it's really important to realize that, especially if you're a new company, if you're starting off, if you lack those other kind of signals, it's going to be really hard for Google to give you the real estate you're looking for. So one of the things to consider then is realize that SEO is not an island, right? It's not by itself. It should be totally integrated in with the public relations strategy. Like, how do you do press releases? How do you outreach in the community, into your reputation? How do you get reviews? How frequently do you get reviews? We've done other things before, but remember, it doesn't matter how many total reviews you have. Google cares about two things: recency and frequency. That's it. So if you have 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000, Google doesn't care. If you get 2 today, 2 tomorrow, 2 the day after, now you got Google's attention. The whole point is creating these signals where Google looks that you are credible, trusted, trustworthy. The community really responds well and engages with what you do. That's the game, right? That's the game. Once you make that traction, like, you can get to page 5 easy. Getting to page 2 is pretty easy. Once you get to page 1, it gets really competitive. So you'll see your speed of like ranking change go from like, hey, position 10 to position 7, 7 to 5, 5 to 3. It'll get slower and slower and slower. But if any of those signals stop that Google's giving you credit for, all that works in reverse now, because Google's thinking, well, you're not the best. And as I've mentioned before in other videos, Google essentially is a giant filter. It's taking 1 billion websites and it's filtering them to the top 3 or the top 10, right? You have to make sure you're continually feeding Google the things you need to stay in front of people. So imagine this famous bakery. Imagine one day they go out of business. They never sell another cookie. People stop talking about it. People stop visiting from out of town. They'll stay on page 1 for a bit, and then they'll start slowing down. And then eventually they'll be gone. Google will understand that this company no longer exists. It's not impacting the market like it used to. Just because you got to page 1 doesn't mean it's permanent. And regardless of whatever content you put on your website or how many backlinks or whatever, if you're not continually doing the best practices that Google's looking for, better than your competitors, right? There's going to be really hard movement on staying there, like getting to page 1 to begin with and then staying there. So it's really easy to go, well, I just need better content on my blog. Okay, sure. I need better backlinks. Sure. But in reality, any one of those things is kind of incomplete. It really is a whole encompassing sort of thing. So my encouragement to you, if you're watching this and you're going, why aren't I on page 1? I'm not happy with my rankings or whatever. Before you jump to say, well, it's my website or it's my marketing company or whatever, it totally may be, right? Do kind of a holistic audit first. Check out what are the things that Google's seeing. What are you doing that's newsworthy? What are you doing to engage with people on social media? What are you doing to get people excited about working with you? What are you doing outside of just that one little thing on your website that tells Google, check it out, we're really good, right? When you think about things holistically, it's really, really hard to lose. If you think about things in buckets, like, hey, I pushed this button, and so therefore I should get this outcome. And when it comes to SEO, you're going to struggle. And we see it ourselves, right? We have clients who sometimes they struggle to get reviews, or sometimes they struggle to be engaged with the community, right? So like, hey, we'd love to do a press release and have people talk about you, and we get nothing back. And we have guys who we've worked with who always every year donate school supplies to local schools, do something for the public good, donate flowers to city parks. There's a whole lot of ways to stay in front of people's eyeballs in a way that gets Google's attention, right? So my encouragement, yes, why aren't you page 1? So do a holistic audit of the entire company. What sort of impact are you making on your community at large? And then look for ways to address those things individually. It might totally be the website, right? It might totally need better blogs, more frequent blogs, longer blogs. It might totally need better backlinks, whatever. It also might just mean that you got to do a better job engaging with your customers or getting connected with your community in a way that makes a splash. But I would love to hear from you using the metaphor of the bakery that everyone talks about when they go to town and everyone wants to have their cookies shipped to them. How do you think about your company? Be honest, right? Like if you were to think about it in the same way, what things do you do well? What things do you need to improve? And kind of have that kind of conversation with yourself. Put things down on paper. But I would love to hear your thoughts on what you think about this. But leave a comment below. As always, guys, follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you.